up? It's Bones DK Golf here with Wildman for the Sanderson Farms Championship preview. What up, Wildman?
Hey, it's great to be back.
Yeah, it's good to be back. Sorry for the delay. We've been all busy lately. But hey, it's go time. It's golf time, and I'm feeling pretty good about this week, honestly. Let's run down some of these players and just run down the tournament course history and how you're gonna make your lineups this week. Give us a little bit on the course history and how the course is going to be this week.
Yeah, so this is it's the Sanderson Farms. It's a full PGA Tour event. So 500 FedEx Cup points awarded to the winner. Country Club of Jackson in Mississippi. Weather's expected to be okay. It's a par 72 layout, about 7,400 yards. And a lot of people thinking it's birdie fest time. So, it seems to be rated out as a pretty average course as far as difficulty on the PGA Tour. And traditional par 72, not the strongest field. So should set up well for the players and should be a lot of birdies out there.
Yeah, it kind of seems like almost last week, just a birdie fest and just pick your guys kind of bombs away. Obviously, recent form's going to matter, but I'm looking at course history. Seems like there's a little bit of course history too. A couple guys popping up each year. Are you going to look a lot into course history this week, or are you just going to go for recent form and guys who score birdies and eagles?
I'll tell you what's interesting about this week is, like I said, it's a pretty average layout for the tour. So you don't have these popping stats where you're like, this is the one stat this week you got to look at. And of the entire field, there are 6 golfers in this field that have made the cut in this event for the last 3 years. That's it. Just 6.
Do you have those 6 golfers?
I do. They are Burns, Poston, Tringali, Fabian Gomez, Scott Stallings, and Adam Schenk. So, again, the interesting thing is that there's only 6 guys that have made this cut 3 straight years. And Burns is the only guy priced above $7,500. So it's really going to be throwing darts here at the top of the board.
Yeah, I think I'm going to lean on more just recent form and guys that can score birdies. I'm not going to look too much into course history, which I do a lot. I look a lot into course history. There is something into it. Like Carlos Ortiz has back-to-back top 5s here, I think. And, a good corollary course that you said is the Houston Open. And if you look at that, Carlos Ortiz also has a top 5. So I think it's something to look into a little bit, but I'm not going to lean too heavy on strictly course history this week.
No, and again, just to that point, you're right. Ortiz has a T4 and a T3 here the last 2. And so conversely, 16 guys in the field have made the cut the last 2 years. So still not an overwhelming amount, for guys that would typically be playing this event.
Yeah, for sure. And I'll get into Carlos Ortiz once we get it on the board a little bit, but let's get right into the field. It's starting off with Scotty Scheffler. He is $900 more than the next guy at Sung JM, who's listed in the field that's still playing, as Oosthuizen is listed as out. But Scotty Scheffler's back off COVID-19. What do you think about Scheffler? I mean, the guy's won us tons of money. He's in great form. He rates out well. But I'm a little concerned about the COVID. Maybe he's just a little worn down or tired. I'm not sure. What's your take on Scheffler?
COVID is really the only thing that can talk me off of him. The price doesn't really scare me, to be honest with you. I mean, he T16 here last year. Obviously, with Oosthuizen withdrawing, he's $900 more than Sung JM. But since the comeback from the layoff, he's at the top of almost every statistical category except for putting. As far as strokes gained goes, coming off some awesome finishes, he's on our Mount Rushmore. So, it's not going to take a lot of convincing to get me back on Scotty Scheffler. But I do have a top play at the top of the board here.
Well, before you go to that, Scotty Scheffler, isn't he one of the? It's on Bermuda greens this week, and isn't he not that great on Bermuda greens? Isn't that one of his downfalls, actually?
Yeah, I think you could argue that he's not a top level Bermuda putter in his limited tour events, but it's just pick your poison, right? He shot a 59 a few weeks ago sandwiched in between 270s, so he's got heat with the putter. He's 2 for 2 career here at Sanderson with a 16th last year and a 45th in 2019.
So he's going for that 3 in a row stat you just mentioned.
He is.
Yeah, I mean, he hasn't been known as the best putter in the world anyway, so I guess it's not really something to worry about if he always has a bad putter everywhere he goes. Clearly, he gets it done 4th at the PGA, 4th at the Northern Trust, and 5th at the Tour Championship. So he has some great form. But, you talk about structure, you drop down and you can save $900, and then you got probably the highest owned guy of the week, I'm guessing, is Zalatoris here at 10-2.
Yeah, Zalatoris, there's no doubt, right? No doubt Zalatoris is going to garner a lot of ownership. And, you might be wondering, like, who is this guy, right? Where'd he come from? He's off the Korn Ferry Tour. He's ranked number 1 on the Korn Ferry Tour. He's won 3 times in the last year. And because of COVID-19 and the shutdown, the tour cards aren't changing hands this season. He's going to have to wait till next season to earn his tour card. And the reason that's interesting is because he would, all things normal, be a guy you'd be seeing all the time. So, and maybe, be getting a little bit more tout in other, podcasts and other PGA Tour type articles, that we'll be mentioning him prior to last week at the US, or 2 weeks ago at the US Open. So he's obviously got the goods.
Yeah, I mean, you can't really deny the guy. 6th place at the U.S. Open. He had a hole-in-one and an eagle that week as well. And then last week, 17 birdies and only 5 bogeys. So the guy is playing great golf. 85 points in fantasy last week, too. So, I mean, he might be chalky, but you might have to play him this week.
You got a lot of these guys like Morikawa, Doc Redman, Hovland, a lot of these guys. Sung J M's relatively new as the PGA Tour Rookie of the Year this year, coming off the Korn Ferry Tour. So there's not a lot of disparity between the top of the Korn Ferry Tour and the middle of the pack in the PGA Tour. So, I mean, it wouldn't be surprising at all to see some of these guys continue the success that they've had recently.
Yeah, I agree, and I like to ride recent form. But then you drop down to the $9,000 range, and this is when it gets really interesting. I'm kind of torn between a couple guys here, really. I mean, Adam Long coming off an awesome week. You're on him last week. It was one of your top plays, and again, we apologize for not getting content out last week, but we're going to get some more out here. But again, I'm Sebastian Munoz, the defending champion here at 9,900, and then you got Sam Burns and Doc Redman, who the 2 guys that I'm really interested in this range is Sam Burns and Doc Redman. I'm torn between the 2. I think Doc Redman has a better chance to win, in my opinion. However, if you look at the odds on DraftKings, Sam Burns is actually 23 to 1, and Doc Redman's 31 to 1. So you just look at that a little bit. But, you can drop down and, see Harmon and Connors and Luke List. So who's your top, who do you like this week?
Yeah, I like those guys too. I like Burns a lot. It's hard to just figure this guy out, man. He's got a lot of firepower, but he seems to have that one round that gets away from him. He ends up like always being in that T25 range, not really contending at the end of the day. He does have a T3 here, though, 2 years ago. The guy I'm looking at again and again is Munoz. I've mentioned it on our podcast before that the guy can pile him up. He's coming off some really good finishes. He made the cut at the U.S. Open, made it all the way to the Tour Championship, and played well in that event. A guy that can really rack him up, and he's coming off the win in this event last year with similar form going into that one. So, I think there's a case to be made for Munoz this week.
Yeah, I like Sebastian Munoz. He's kind of tough to look at. I kind of like all 3 of these guys. And we're going to put our top picks up tomorrow with a breakdown as well with Wildman, breaking down our top picks. I'm not going to put all 3 of these guys on here. I'm going to try to pick between 2. But honestly, I'm leaning Sam Burns and Doc Redman there. I just think Doc Redman, The guy this is the perfect tournament for him. Coming off a third place at the Safeway Open, miscut at the Northern Trust. I'm not going to look too much into it, and then a third place at the Wyndham Championship. There's not that much competition. The guy's been dialed in. I like him a lot. We can drop down quickly to the $8,000 range, where I think actually there's not going to be too much ownership in this range. You got Griot there, who's played pretty well last week. Honestly, I mean he didn't play as well as Long, but at 8,800 he's interesting. You got Siwoo Kim. He was the top priced golfer a few weeks ago, down to $8,400 now. Carlos Ortiz, like I said, who has great history, and then my boy Cameron Davis, who I'm going to play this week. I can't help it.
Yeah, there's not a lot to dislike about Cameron Davis, that's for sure. Especially at that price, he feels wildly undervalued again this week. The reasons I don't know, but if you're going to compare him to the Grillos, the Luke Lists, the Corey Connors, in this event, I'm all over Davis there. In fact, the guys I'd be fading in this range are Connors and Grillo, because they're just two of the worst putters on the PGA Tour, and like they're I know we always talk about, generally speaking, we like to tee to green guys because they can get hot with the putter, but those are average putters we're talking about in that case. These are below average putters that haven't really seemed to be putting it all together. And the other guy that just sticks out like a sore thumb here, like a sore freaking thumb, is Sergio Garcia. I mean, this guy's got like 25 worldwide wins, and he's, you're telling me he's less money than Patrick Rogers?
Yeah, I mean, coming off two cut 66, cut his last four. So it doesn't seem to be in great form. If you want to play Sergio Garcia, go for it. Vamos.
No, for the record, I will not be playing it. But just
Vamos, Sergio.
Bizarre thing to see,
It is. In this field for sure. You would actually expect him to be probably, if he was in decent form, like $9,700 or something up there. Same with Hendrik Stenson. I mean, he's definitely the best golfer in the field. Hendrik Stenson. I mean, he probably has the most wins. So, I mean, Hendrik Stenson actually is an interesting play as well. 21st last week, probably just trying to work out his game a little bit. So, the guy can string birdies together. I'm not going to go there either, but he's definitely an interesting play. We're running out of time here, so let's just drop down a little bit. Hudson Swafford coming off of the win last week. You got Nick Taylor down here. I don't have many plays in the $7,000 range, which worries me because all of these guys will probably be low owned. So you could probably find some interesting guys here. My top, the guys I'm looking at are Nick Taylor, Taylor Gooch, and I like those guys right there. Any plays you have?
Yeah, I think we'll whittle it down, like you said, on the top plays tomorrow. But I'm looking at Glover, who's checking some boxes for me. He's 7,700. The other guy is Sepp Straka in this 7K range. Just a guy that can really put birdies together, and that's what you're going to need out here. You're going to need 4 rounds in the 60s in all likelihood, and you're going to need a couple 65s to contend for a win. And he's a guy I just feel like I see near the top quite a bit. He's got some decent form and some decent history.
Yeah. Sepp Straka, looking pretty good there. Nick Taylor won this tournament. Is that correct?
He did. I think it was like 2015, maybe.
Yeah, and he has a win this year at the Pebble Beach. So he was a guy that I used to always play at a cheap price. So I just think he's interesting. But, okay, let's wrap it up here. We're going to give you more content tomorrow with the top picks, and I'll tweet it. Wildman, thank you. Guys, sorry for the delay. We're going to put way more content out, and we're going to win a lot of money this week. Wildman got 4th place this week in the World Championship qualifiers, so made a run. We're looking to take a ticket down this week. Thank you, Wildman.
Yeah, thanks. Looking forward to the top picks tomorrow.
All right. See you tomorrow.